Blog Talk Radio. And welcome to yet another episode of The Wellness Coach here on Blog Talk Radio. I'm your host, Edie Summers, certified wellness coach, and I am so grateful to have today as my guest, Sheronde Glover. I think we're in for a real treat today, you guys. So I just want to introduce her. Sheronde Glover is the CEO, lead practitioner of the Business Practitioner Incorporated, an Atlanta-based consulting and training company whose mission is to help individuals and businesses become more purposeful, productive, and profitable. Since starting her company in 1999, Sheronde Glover has worked with numerous nonprofit and for-profit organizations teaching entrepreneurial concepts and principles, including the foundations of planning to create a healthy and successful business. She's the author of Sipping Tea and Doing Business, A Holistic Journey to Business Success, a book and concept that became a nationally known brand and symbol for both entrepreneurial and business women. Sheronde encourages women to just be the woman you are becoming and to create bold, balanced, and brilliance in both life and business. Sheronde is the organizer and producer of the Holistic Body and Business Boot Camp, designed to help women create wholeness in both body and business. Adding an additional hat to the Glover brand, Sheronde is also the founder of Car by Her, an automotive resource that educates women on car buying and helps dealerships become women-friendly. Sheronde holds a BA in psychology with a minor in communications and a Master of Education in counseling and educational psychology from West Georgia College. She is an enthusiastic and energetic trainer, a skilled writer, and a pragmatic coach. You can learn more about her websites, Grow Your Business in a Healthy Direction, thebusinesspractitioner.com, and she also has a network for women entrepreneurs, where women can just be. It's called sippingteaonline.net, and Car by Her is car-by-her.com. So, Sheronde, I just wanted to welcome you for being here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, and welcome. How are you?
Oh, I am doing wonderful, and thank you, Edie, so much for having me, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I hope it wasn't too lengthy, but I am so looking forward to being here with you and all of your listeners and just being a part of what you're doing today. So thank you again for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure, and I'm very impressed because, as you were mentioning hats, you do wear a lot of hats, and yet I think they're all related, and it really sounds like you're into empowering women on a lot of levels, and I'm really interested to know more about this. But first of all, I want to ask you, could you tell us about your company, The Business Practitioner?
Yes, I sure will. And you're right about the hats, and it's so funny because, as entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, whatever category we fall in, we do tend to wear a lot of hats, and I think particularly as women, because we're just natural multitaskers, and we tend to also be just multi-talented individuals as people, not just women but men as well. And so I think a lot of times we have a lot of interests and a lot of things that we enjoy and that we want to do, and then I think we feel charged to kind of take it into the world and share our gifts with others. And so I think that's a lot of what you find when you see that type of scenario. But to give you a little bit of background in terms of me and the business practitioner, actually, I started my entrepreneur journey 1999, so it's been, 2009, 12, 13 years or so. And so it is the Business Practitioner is a consulting. It's a training company. We work a lot with or specifically I work with small business owners. I work with nonprofit agencies and organizations. And I started out, the original name of the business was Glover Enterprise, and about 2 or 3 years ago, I kind of went through a rebranding because I wanted to stop and really take a look at what it was that I really felt compelled to do and what I offered businesses. And what I looked at was just this whole idea of creating a healthy business. And I define a healthy business as one that's purposeful, productive, and profitable. So when you think of business or even when you think of us as individuals, we want to be more purposeful. We want to make sure we're productive, our employees are productive, that we are productive, and that we're profitable in terms of not only finances, but what we're able to contribute and give to the world and to what we do to our customers and our clients. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. The training, both personal and professional development training, I do a lot in the areas of strategic planning as well as marketing, to include marketing research, marketing communications, and just general brand marketing.
That sounds fabulous, Sheronde. And first of all, I love the idea of being creating a healthy business. I love that, and I know that we're going to talk about this a little bit more, and we talk about your book. But I was on your website. Is it kind of like a social networking site? The sippingteaonline.net? Is that considered Is that considered social networking? But it's for women entrepreneurs, and you were talking out there about how you don't want to be. You can do both. Like you don't want to be going. Just doing work, you want to kind of balance it more, and I just love that idea of a healthy business. And then I was telling you this earlier. You know, I'm an entrepreneur as well, but I have never taken a business course yet, although I plan to. And so I'm really curious to know, kind of. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more details about, you know, what does it mean to be a more purposeful, productive, obviously everyone wants to be profitable, but it sounds like maybe you're saying that being purposeful, having a purpose, and being productive are those some of the ways to become more profitable?
They are, and one of the things that we do is created what I call the BMI. And that's business measures and indicators. And so what we do, because when you look at how you want to become a purposeful or a more healthy business, to include being more purposeful, productive, and profitable, you want to take a look at really, you know, how your business is structured. You want to look at those classic things like what is the vision, what is our mission, you know, what is it we're trying to accomplish and how we are going about that. And that's really kind of the very first step. And if you think about it, if you think about your business and you think about yourself even individually, you know, you have to take a look at, you know, where am I going? Where am I trying to take this business? Where am I trying to go in life? You know, so when you understand that aspect and can really see what that vision is, then you can start creating a path to be more productive. That's your purpose once you get that side of it, when you see the vision and when you're able to then create a mission. And that would include, you know, why do we just exist? Why am I here? What is this business for? And that even goes back to what I was sharing with you in terms of the rebranding. I just wanted, when people heard the name of the business, to get, you know, kind of a clear picture of what it is we're trying to accomplish when we work with you. And so all of that is about, you know, really providing some strategic direction and creating, again, measurable results and looking at how you can be healthier. And so I like to look at both sides of it. When I work with businesses, I'm looking at, you know, how they have organized the business, how that business is structured, what some of the goals and objectives are, and how they are going about meeting those specific goals and objectives. So what I decided to do was, again, I created this BMI. You know, if you go from a physical standpoint, if you think about health, then we have the BMI, the body mass index, that kind of gives us a little indication of where we are on the scale in terms of our fitness level. And then I decided I wanted to do kind of a little adjunct to that on the business side, so that businesses can kind of take a look at where they are, you know, in terms of the health scale, in terms of their business. So I ask questions like, you know, do you have a strategic plan? Do you have a business plan? Policies and procedures. Some of those basic things that you need to begin structuring your business so that you can be all of those things that we talked about: purposeful, productive, and profitable.
And Sheronde, something that I was just, like I said, I've been an entrepreneur for a few years now, and something I'm just starting to learn now is that a business is a system. Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, I did not know that. I did not, and this changes my whole perspective. And going along with that, like having a business plan.
Exactly. And I missed what you just said about the business plan.
Yes. Well, I was just thinking, isn't that kind of related to that a business is a system, and part of that system is having that business plan in place, so that, and also like you were talking about your vision and having the right branding, so that you have like a framework, right?
Absolutely.
So that you kind of know where you're going and where you are.
You have that exactly right, and it's very important. And I would say that's the very first step. It's really putting that plan in place. And we do a lot in the area of strategic planning, and that, you have strategic plans, you have business plans, you have a marketing plan, you have action plans. They're all planning tools, and they have slightly different functions, and it really kind of depends on where you are in the business, where you are in terms of your organization, what you're trying to accomplish in terms of which one you're looking to put together. But I love the fact that you understand the idea of processes and systems, and that's one of the things that we have on the BMI. Business processes are documented and can be readily duplicated by staff and others. And so it is a process, because when you get up and you operate your business, and a lot of times what I see is business owners, they're doing things, and either they're having to continue to recreate something that they've already done, or they get to a point where maybe they're trying to grow and they're wanting to bring other people in, and they're not able to, or they're not able to successfully, because they have pretty much everything in their head, and there's no system and there are no processes in place in terms of how things operate on a regular basis. So you would have a system and process for pretty much everything that you do in your business, and that's very, very important. So yes, great point.
And that's if I understand it correctly, is that what helps to streamline a business, or does it serve other functions as well?
It does. I use the word, making it scalable. Streamline is a good one, but absolutely, because, when you get those processes down, and, when you start, if you're doing something for the first time around, you have to take it. So there's going to be some tweaking and some modifications, but absolutely, that's the way so that you can become, back to that second one, more productive. You can get up and basically duplicate that system, and then be able to turn that system over to someone else who basically can just look at their process and follow it and be able to do it. And one of the best examples of a large corporation that has done that very well is McDonald's. Everyone talks about McDonald's and their systems. And so what they created was something and this is why you can go to any McDonald's pretty much, and you will have the same fries every time. They will taste the same. All of the food will pretty much taste the same, and that's because they created a system where, and if you've ever been in the fast food, and I'm not promoting because I'm about healthy, and I'm not promoting, but I'm just giving an example here. But, if you go in, if you've ever seen them, take the fries, it's so funny because you can sit there and literally you'll see them put the little light on. They have a certain amount of time that they put the fries in the grease. They come out, they dump them, they put the salt on them.
They have a system.
They put them in the package, and I mean it's a process in the system, and it operates the very same way in any McDonald's you walk into. So you're absolutely right.
There's something about that, knowing that a business is reliable, and that so that the consumer can they want to be able to trust who they're buying from, right? So I think that's it seems to me that's one of the reasons that a system is important to have it in place. But when you're mentioning McDonald's, it's so interesting because I just watched a documentary on McDonald's, and they went through. I mean, I think they've always been obviously a profitable business, but they did have a period where they went through a slump, but then they responded to their consumers and they started offering more healthy options on their menu, and then I think that sent their profits they started going sky high again. So I think that's so interesting because that kind of talks about, or that kind of brings us to the point of branding. I know that
not only just branded, but also, being in touch with your customer, understanding consumer needs, and looking at the trends and understanding those. And so, whereas when McDonald's was coming up and everybody was, eating burgers and fries, and then we moved into kind of this generation, this societal place of where, healthier was, and we know it's better, but it became more accepted and more of the norm. And so what is a fast food restaurant that, sells a lot of grease and fat and kind of food? What are they to do to kind of counter that? You don't just shut down the whole establishment, but you have to position yourself so that you have something to offer, everyone, and that you can show pretty much your consumers that, hey, we're listening to what you want, we're listening to what you need, and we are offering some things that, we're adding on.
And that kind of brings me to the question, Sheronde. This is something that I think that a lot of entrepreneurs are trying to figure out, and this is kind of one of the things that you definitely face when you become an entrepreneur is how do you connect with your what's known as your target audience. Do you have any suggestions or tips for people, especially entrepreneurs? And then I know we're going to talk in particular about female entrepreneurs here in just a little bit, but just tips in general, just entrepreneurs in general.
Yeah, I think the very first step is really understanding who that consumer is. And what I recommend people do is I have a form. It's called the, ideal client profile. And so a lot of times the problem business owners have with reaching that consumer is they don't really know exactly who they're targeting. They don't, have a specific market or niche. And so you hear of people a lot of times, and you'll have a conversation. You say, well, who is your ideal customer? And they'll say, anybody. Oh, anybody can use this product. Well, no.
No.
Maybe they could, but you cannot. You're not trying to market to anybody and everybody. And as a small business owner, you don't have that type of budget to have that kind of reach. And so you have to get very, very specific, and you have to narrow things down and really understand. And one real good trick that I've read about and it works very, very well is if you could think of your client and literally give them a name almost and really begin to, so when you do things like your marketing communications, you literally write into that particular person, that individual. And so most people, they're trying to grab everybody, but that's not your ideal client. You have to find the people that want what you have to offer and that can buy in and connect almost immediately to what it is that you're doing. And when you try to generalize, what happens is, you end up with, the people that you don't really want. They're not the people that are best suited for what it is you have to offer. So I recommend people, instead of trying to chase down everybody, take some time to really sit down and, look at, okay, what does this person look like? Who are they? Where would you find them? What do they read? What are some of their characteristics? All those types of things, and really break that down. And if you're already in business, you may be able to do that by looking at who your clients are currently and then filtering out who the best ones are. The A category, B category, and C category. You want your A level category of customers.
Absolutely. And this just kind of popped into my head, and I thought about this before, but I mean, you're the business expert, but wouldn't it be, I don't know if this is maybe too far out there, but would it be a safe assumption to say that you yourself might be your own best target market in terms of you're trying to understand your kind of like I've learned, like the deeper I get into running my business and finishing up of my own book, that the more I focus on like really getting deeply personal, both about my business and my book, I'm starting to notice that people are starting to be more attracted to me. And I'm wondering if there's some truth in that, like you could be your own target market, or is there a difference between the entrepreneur and the person that their niche market? Is there a difference there, or are they kind of potentially the same?
Yeah, well, it really depends on your industry and your product and your service.
Okay.
So I would say not necessarily, but I see where you're going with that, and I think it's a really good point. So if you are a small business owner, and let's just say in my case, small business owner, woman business owner, so you may be able to look at it and say, and what you really want to ask is, a couple of things are happening. What problem are you solving? When you think in terms of your product and your service, you're looking in terms of the problem that you're solving. And so, or what need are you fulfilling, or what gap is there that you're fulfilling? And so when you can look at the problem that you solve and those people who need those problems solved, then you can really begin to understand your market. But again, not necessarily saying that you can't take a deeper look, because I think what's happening is, and to me where I thought you was going with that, and I totally believe in this, and this is a lot of what we say, by understanding yourself and knowing who you are and the gifts and the things you bring and how you bring that to those consumers, I do think you get a better understanding of who they are in that sense.
Interesting. Yeah. That kind of makes sense. I like the way you say that. That makes sense. So it may not be exactly like a mirroring situation. However, the more you understand yourself better, and I would say even along with that, the more honest you can be, and the, sort of kind of the deeper that you go into your business, that way it sort of reveals itself naturally to be the business that is the perfect fit for certain individuals, like you said, that have a need, because that's ultimately why people end up contacting you, isn't it? Or buying from you, is because they have some kind of need, whether it's something that we've created for them or not. But hopefully it's an authentic need.
And the reason why I wanted to kind of clarify that is because a lot of times the mistake that is made is that most business owners are coming from their own perspective, and you have to kind of, in that sense, really get out of yourself and look at who that customer is and what they need, and focus on them more than thinking about yourself. So that's why I say it's kind of a two-sided, and I want to just kind of clarify how that does work based on the way you put it, and then how it works on the other end too. Really being so in tune with that customer and really speaking to them, so that when they are reading your copy, they're like, that's me.
Yeah, and I have to contact them
themselves.
Yeah, and also this is a service. It's a service, so that's and hopefully a lot of holistic businesses are coming. We're going to talk about holistic business here now. Are coming from a place of doing this out of service, as opposed to creating some kind of artificial need that people need. Like there's a genuine need out there that people have for your service.
Exactly.
And so this comes from an authentic place. So on that note, you wrote a book called Sipping Tea and Doing Business, which I just absolutely love that title. It just, what a fantastic picture that creates in my mind, and what a great feeling that gives me. And, I have to say, I've only I don't know if this is even off base or not, but I haven't lived in the true South. I lived in Virginia for a year. Now, is that even considered the true South? People always told me it's not, because I love the South, I have to say. Anyway, I can say I maybe lived close to the South, and I've obviously visited like North Carolina. Anyway, it's just so beautiful down there, and the whole idea of sipping tea, it's a more mellow pace, isn't it, a little bit? And that's what I love about the South. That's one of the things I love.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly, the feel. It's kind of warmer. It's kind of warmer, not so much in terms of the weather, but warmer in terms of just, welcoming.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. Yes, it is. And there is more humidity too, which could be why there's maybe a slower pace. I mean, that definitely made me go slower down there. But I'm just wondering if you could tell us more about this concept of sipping tea and doing business, and what prompted you to write this book, Sheronde?
Well, it's really interesting, because I was listening to your comments and what you were saying, and I thought, what, it has nothing to do with the South, because
okay.
and I was explaining this, and I share this with this whole idea of this book, but really the concept it's just so interesting. I co-authored the book with a really good friend and colleague. And at the time, we had, both business owners, And I'm a relatively, you spoke of it, you said you're kind of a new business owner.
Yes.
I was new in the tradition of, there were no, entrepreneurs in my family. So this was kind of a new concept when I was, getting started and doing this. And so there was a lot to be learned. And it's a lot out there, and it's so interesting because, many of the books, and now it's totally different because, again, keep in mind, let's see, this book is, wrote this about 2001, I think. It's been a while since the book first came out. But what's interesting is that, you see a lot of business books. A lot of times when you think about business books, you think of these big, kind of overwhelming, intimidating books. And what I really wanted to be able to do from a business perspective is I wanted to answer a lot of the questions that business owners had. And basic questions, like you said, do I need a business plan? Because a lot of people think, well, I'm not trying to get investors or funders or whatever. I don't really need a plan. Yes, you do. I need to know how to market my plan more effectively. Okay, I need to know how to structure my business. So we wanted to address those types of questions. And so I kind of started this idea of writing this book, and I connected with, as I shared, my co-author, and I just kind of said she's an attorney, so I thought let's write this book and let's put some information together. And we were literally sitting around. I mean, we were having what we call one of these marathon meetings. It's like this every day, and all of a sudden it was kind of like you want a cup of tea, and it was like eureka.
Eureka.
And that was kind of eureka.
There's
our
concept.
The birth of this concept. Exactly.
So
exactly.
Great.
And it was amazing because from there it was just this whole culmination of ideas. In the book we talk about, we take you into the tea room and we talk a little bit about the whole idea of tea and the fact that it's medicinal and it's calming and it's relaxing and those types of things. We talk about the steam room, the challenges of business. We take you in the boardroom, so we kind of take you through this journey throughout the book. And using the concept of tea, and it's both literal, as well as figurative, because it really is more of we always said it was more than a book, but it was just this mindset. It was this idea of how can we do business and not drive ourselves crazy, not get so overwhelmed with the process, not get so stressed out, and a lot of times as women, we take so much on, and we take on our stuff and we take on everybody else's stuff. And so when you think about the woman in business, and one of the things we want to say too is you know what? We don't have to do a business like a man. We can do business like ourselves. And that goes back to that trueness and that really defining and understanding really who we are and just embracing who we are naturally and being, doing what we do best and being able to project that in a way that was comfortable and with confidence. And so that's kind of how the whole idea kind of birthed itself.
Interesting. So So this is interesting. So we're talking now about how it's potentially a little bit different for some women to do business than what's been considered sort of the standard way of doing business. And this is, and maybe it has a little bit more of a holistic bent to it. Would that be safe to say?
I agree, yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is something that I'd love to explore more with you, Sheronde. We're going to take a break. It's the bottom of the hour, and we'll be back in just a few moments. You're listening to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be right back. Are you trying to lose weight? Maybe you're trying to quit smoking or working to lower your blood pressure or cholesterol numbers with your doctor. Whatever your health goals are, wellness coaching can help you to achieve them. Wellness coaching is an effective, fun, empowered way to change your health habits for good and achieve lasting results. Visit portlandwellnesscoach.com today. You have the power to change. portlandwellnesscoach.com. Change for good. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. I'm your host, Edie Summers, and my guest today is Sheronde Glover. She is the CEO and lead practitioner of the Business Practitioner Incorporated, an Atlanta-based consulting and training company whose mission is to help individuals and businesses become more purposeful, productive, and profitable. Since starting her company in 1999, Sheronde Glover has worked with numerous nonprofit and for-profit organizations teaching entrepreneurial concepts and principles, including the foundations of planning to create a healthy and successful business. She is the author of Sipping Tea and Doing Business, A Holistic Journey to Business Success, a book and concept that became a nationally known brand and symbol for both entrepreneurial and business women. Sheronde encourages women to just be the woman you are becoming and to create bold, balanced brilliance in both life and business. Sheronde is the organizer and producer of the Holistic Body and Business Boot Camp, designed to help women create wholeness in both body and business. So, Sheronde, I was wondering if you could tell us, I'd love to talk more about this idea of doing holistic business, and also could you tell us more about your Holistic Body and Business Boot Camp?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. And I was really excited about that. That was a concept that actually came to me a little bit, I don't know, it's probably a year or so ago. And I had this idea around, body and business because, again, when I think about businesses and creating healthy businesses, it always starts at kind of the core, the leader. The culture of the business is directly impacted by the leader of that business. And so if you're not a healthy individual, it's going to be hard to have a healthy business. And that's particularly when you have small business owners or small teams or even solopreneurs. And so it's important that we be mindful of both the body and the business. And so that was kind of the whole take. The initial idea was to create just a physical boot camp where we did a combination of like fitness and physical exercise and using concepts around business. And but I decided, you know what, we're totally virtual now. We're in a technological society, and so let's why not do a virtual event? And so it was really, really wonderful. It was a full day of just concepts and tips and techniques on how to create, again, wholeness in both body and business. So we talked about things like, how to create your why, and that goes to the purpose, when you're thinking about your business. And when you really, again, going back to what you were saying, like who are the best customers? What is that why? And when you really understand that, so we had a series of about 6 presenters who talked about, we started out with how to be deliberate, how to just get very specific and deliberate about what it is you want, what it is you're trying to accomplish, in both your body and your business. We talked about how to create how to relax in a chaotic life.
How to do what?
That was a really good one. How to relax in a chaotic life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And isn't that part of doing business in a holistic way is to kind of, I noticed you were talking about on your website, you can work for 8 hours or longer, but take that break and take that walk.
Yeah, and I tell people, I know there are probably a lot of people out there listening, particularly women, like, listen, you don't understand. I'm running this business. I have a family, whatever. It's not possible. I can't do it. And I tell people, if I can balance myself, I just have to tell you, and this is why it's so interesting to me about the book, and this is why I said to you earlier about it's really not about the style. It has a lot to do really with that personality type. I am classic type A, classic type A. So if you know anything about type A's, the go, ambitious and patient, competitive, all that stuff. You know, everything's urgent. Everything has to be done now. And so it was so funny. And I say to people, you know, I embarked on this journey of writing this book, and I was writing it, and I was like, you know, because I'm real big on just educating and sharing. If I learn something, I want to share it with everybody. So I'm like, oh, you know, I've learned all this stuff. I need to put it in a book because somebody else can use it. And I really felt compelled that, you know, I was writing this book for all these women, and I was, but I also realized after I finished the book that the book was for me too.
Isn't that funny how that works out?
For me, it was hilarious. Yes, I'll tell you, like the first 3 years, I think, of my business, I just literally, it's almost like I came up to breathe, and I didn't realize that. I mean, I was so engrossed. I mean, I stopped everything. I mean, one of my, you know, some of my favorite pastimes, I'm a tennis player, and that was one of those things. I mean, it's recreational, it's social, it's physical, it's all these things. I stopped playing tennis. I love to read, but I love leisurely reading. I mean, the only thing I would read was business books because I'm just an avid reader. And I was, you know, business books. And when I came back up for air and was able to sit down and leisurely read, I thought, oh, wow.
What a revelation.
Missing something.
Yeah.
This is great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
so
that balance.
It's really important to find that, yeah. And one of our presenters at the boot camp was this great lady, Gigi, and she talked about one of the things that she's done. She was the classic type A as well, you know, working the business and whatever. And she really, you know, started realizing that it was impacting, you know, her family life, her marriage and all of that. And so she's created this whole concept and idea around dinner time. And so she talked to us about how to build better family communications through dinner and how to not just, you know, make a living, but to create a life. And that's so important. And it doesn't take, you know, it doesn't take all this. It's just a matter. And when we think of sipping tea and doing business, I mean, it's just such a little small indulgence. I mean, you'd be amazed at, you know, just how relaxing a cup of tea can be. And, you know, that's 10 or 15 minutes. Just some downtime, just to breathe. We say relax, just breathe.
Just breathe. And also, this is something I just kind of realized recently, Sheronde, is that we need that downtime in order to process everything that we've either just, you know, taught to other people or experienced ourselves. Downtime is crucial. Not only for the recovery process and for relaxation, but it's also just to process the information. It's almost like taking a test. You don't want to stay up. You won't do the best on a test if you stay up all night. You've got to get some rest.
Exactly.
And then you're going to do better on your test or your business, for that matter.
Yeah, it's like reflecting, re-energizing, you know, repositioning even. So absolutely, you have to have that time to just sit back and just kind of regroup and really take a look at, you know, where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. And that's very important in business and just in life in general. You know, where am I right now? What's going on? What's taking place? You know, where am I really trying to go? And moving into, you know, moving into who you are really. And staying connected with, you know, the trueness of who you know, just tapping into who you are and really who you're becoming. And I talk a little bit about that, particularly with women, because I do hear a lot of times women say things like, you know, I was doing this and I've been real successful in this, and this, or I was doing that, you know, but that's not really where they are right now. And they want to move into these other places, but they're still really hanging on to a lot of what used to be. And there's a little statement I think we say in the book, it's, you know, it's true you're not who you used to be. And that's because as we continue to grow and develop and experience, you know, we evolve and we change and we're supposed to. And so a lot of times we get really stuck. And, again, that goes back to what we do a lot in terms of that strategic planning. We really help people get out of stuck by helping them take a look at, again, where they are, where they're trying to go, and really tapping into who they're becoming and who they naturally are, and how to position themselves, in business and in life in that aspect.
And when you talk about the corporate culture, and it seems to me that the corporate culture is changing. And then we've been talking about how, wellness programs, for instance, are becoming a part of the corporate culture, and that's a process of evolution in itself, right there, I think. And also the idea of doing holistic business, creating, and I think this is where maybe our natural instincts as women can be really helpful in creating that new type of corporate culture, or even just entrepreneurial culture. What do you think about that? Just sort of using the natural, the feminine entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And you're right. It's just being so much better received now. And everyone really, I think a lot of corporations are really adopting that philosophy, and they really understand. And that's why you hear things like, family-friendly corporations, because they really are seeing that they benefit more when they have healthier, productive individuals on staff. And when they are able to allow people to have that time to balance their lives, that they really can be more valuable assets to the company in that way.
Absolutely, because and I think I've just learned that health is not just physical; it's mental, emotional, and spiritual. So it's when we bring all of that together, that's when true health happens. And I would say that it sounds to me like that's sort of the direction that businesses are heading as well, in order to survive in the new type of commercial climate that we're in, or economic climate that we're in. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I agree, and I love that definition, because that's the one I use as well when it talks about, the fullness of health. Not just the when you think of, health and fitness and things like that, it's like not just the absence of disease, but it's that total, complete, mind, body, spirit, mental, physical, as you mentioned, totality of it all. And so, yeah, I totally agree that things are moving in that direction, because people understand the impact and the benefit that it really just has on the workforce in general.
And then I'm not sure if we've already covered this, but you would talk about the holistic journey to business success. And why do you think it's important for individuals, business owners, and women in particular to adopt this philosophy?
Well, again, I think to be able to just understand the idea around, what's really important. And I think when I look at holistic, when I look at the idea of balance, some people, like I say, don't believe it's obtainable, whatever. But I think you have to define it for yourself. You have to understand what it means for you individually. But I think it's important because, we only have so much time to be here. And in that time, we want to fulfill our visions and our missions and our purpose. We want to be able to do that in a way, that's healthy, so that we can get out there and not turn around or look back and, have a lot of, regrets, or end up in places where we're not healthy because we've put too much stress on ourselves. I've been to a number of events. We actually did part of our series with the boot camp was I actually did a colleague actually did a study on this idea of dis-ease and disease in the body. And so what we find is, stress is very, it happens a lot, particularly with women. And so when you put a lot of stress, that's just totally unhealthy. And, we literally, are dying because of it. And so it's very important that we're able to, be more complete is the best way I can put it. And that we, take a look at all of those aspects of our lives, spiritual, mental, physical, and make sure that we're just in line. Because otherwise, it's kind of like you see those commercials where they have the people that are tilted over. You have to straighten back up. So we want to be in balance. We don't want to fall over.
And I think that stress plays such a huge role in all types of workplaces and work environments. Don't you think? Both corporate and also, for the entrepreneurs. I think there's this whole notion where there is especially if you're running your own business, but even if you're part of a corporation, I think it's really common for people to get incredibly stressed out, and that is sort of a dead end road. Isn't it? Isn't that part of what we're trying to?
And things like.
Go ahead.
And again, you have a lot of disease factors. Heart disease is one of the largest killers of women. It's like a silent killer, and you see that. I actually attended an event. I think February. Was it February? I think that was Heart Month. And I attended an event, and there was a young lady there, like in her 30s or so, and she talked about, how she had recovered from a stroke, and there was no history, there were no, disease type onset issues within her family. She said when they really just looked at it and broke it down, it contributed by just all the stress in her life. She was in a corporate environment. She literally left that environment. She actually started a business, and it's a more, it's just a better situation for her now because she's able to do that. So it's a big factor. And most of the time, and now, there's going to be some stress, and then, of course, there's the good stress and the bad stress or whatever. So it's all about management of it. But when we put ourselves on overload, which a lot of times we do, that's when we really have to be careful. And the other thing, too, is we really have to recognize the signs, because I think a lot of times we don't, we just go about our day, something's going on, we have a headache, or we're not, feeling well physically or whatever. And women typically, we're the ones that we don't stop. We'll just say, oh, we'll be okay because you need to cook and you need to run this errand and you need to get this proposal to this potential client and all those different things. And so we have to give ourselves, and we do that with the book, and I do it right here on the show, give you permission to take that break that you need, to just stop, breathe, take 10 to 15 minutes, relax your mind, relax your body, and really begin to recognize. And I think the other side of that is, it comes in that support that we're able to get from the people in our lives, our families, our colleagues, so it's important that we support each other in that process as well.
And also that kind of, this is what you were talking about, is you're talking about sipping tea, taking that break, and not, as opposed to drinking coffee, right? Because why tea and not coffee, Sheronde?
That's just kind of funny, because I think about that. And it's interesting because, again, tea is medicinal. A friend and colleague of mine talked one time about the difference in the coffee drinkers and the tea drinkers, and she said, it's funny, you see people that drink coffee, they're just kind of wired and kind of,
more stressed
off the seat kind of thing. But when you see the people that drink tea, they're just more calm, a little more relaxing. So it's kind of funny. And an interesting story around that, I was doing a training. It was an entrepreneur training one time. It was a little while ago, but there was a gentleman that was in the trade. And, it's funny with sipping tea and doing business. You talked about it, but, women just so get it. Like, when you say it, women get it just immediately. And the gentleman was like, well, wait a minute, why are you leaving the men out? Can't you have, like, a drinking coffee and eating donuts first? And I thought that was really funny.
That's funny.
But it just kind of speaks to the whole calming, relaxing, the medicinal impact and the fact that, that tea does have on the body.
Yeah, even has something called, I know that green tea has something called L-theanine in it, which actually can calm down your brain, so that if you're looking for that energetic lift in the middle of your day or whenever, you can still have your caffeine if caffeine works for you. And yet, if you drink, say green tea, you're not going to be, wired even more so than you may already be if you're already working. And kind of the point is to take that break, and then to which will in turn make you more productive, right?
Absolutely.
More productive.
And a lot of times, and that's a really good point, because most people think, I should go, and that will make me more productive. When a lot of times, really, the body, if you take that time to actually stop and take a break, you're actually going to be much more productive afterwards.
I think that's the
absolutely.
paradox. Yeah, that's the paradox. That's the give and take of life, and that's the beauty of taking care of yourself as well while you're doing business. And I hope that's the sort of the forecast in general for businesses at large here is recognizing that people are human beings, and then people need to be able to take care of themselves, and they will in turn be more productive. And I think a lot of companies are embracing that, and especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's really important to kind of realize that holistic part of it, which will in turn, I think your customers will recognize that in you as well and respond to you more, I suspect.
Well, and if you think about it, if you're taking care of yourself, then wouldn't that transfer over into taking care of your business as well? So it goes back to that whole
interesting
discussion we were having about both a healthy, being healthy individuals and creating healthy businesses, and so you are able to align those same things and transfer those same types of concepts and ideas over into your business, and really looking at, how do I build a healthy organization? And I do that by making sure that I'm taking care of it in all aspects that it needs to be taken care of. So it's really kind of the same, those same concepts that you can transfer from both physical into business as well.
That's very well said, Sheronde. I love that. And I was wondering if you could tell us where can people find out more information about your book as well as the event, the Holistic Body and Business Bootcamp.
Okay, well, they can visit online at sippingteaonline.net. sippingteaonline.net, and there's information on the book there as well as information on our upcoming events, including the boot camp.
Oh, that's so great. And then also for other people that are listening, your other website is thebusinesspractitioner.com.
Correct. And that's a tricky word to spell, so the business practitioner.
Yes, thebusinesspractitioner.com. And then speaking of your websites, Sheronde, I know we're switching gears just a little bit, but I find this is really awesome that you're doing this. You have a website called Car by Her. And can you tell us what exactly that is, and what's the address of your website, and can you just share with us a little bit what your mission is with this?
Yes. Car by Her is actually an automotive resource, and the goal is to educate women on car buying and maintenance, and also to educate dealerships on how they can become more woman-friendly. So basically what we do is we provide, the website is, I think I shared it, carbyher.com. That's CAR-BUY-HER.com. We define a car by her as a woman that is informed, in control, and ready to buy.
Love it.
And so we're helping her do that by giving her the information that she needs. Buying a car can be very frustrating and very overwhelming, particularly for women. And traditionally, it's been kind of a man's type of world. And so I wanted to break that down a little bit and make it a little bit easier for women to maneuver the idea around car buying. And it really was birthed from my own personal car buying experience. And, I realized it was interesting because I was going through it and I was just going, oh, my goodness. And at the time, I've never really facilitated this process on my own. And me being this independent, woman, and, okay, let me go find some information to the Internet and look, and there was a wealth of information, lots and tons of information, but when I tell you it was so over the top and was not at all woman friendly, so I thought, maybe we could simplify. Maybe we could make this better for women. So we've embarked on this process to do that. Yes, absolutely. And to just kind of break down the barriers, bridge the gaps a little bit between the female auto consumer and that dealership, so that, both can be educated on what the other needs. And so that's what we do. We've done it again with articles and tips on the website. We have a report for women, 10 common mistakes women make when buying a car. We've offered auto clinics in the past, full female auto panel talking about financing. You know, we even had a female mechanic auto, buying and things like that. And for the dealership, we do offer a training program for them as well called How to Build a Woman-Friendly Dealership. So we're out there just trying to provide them with information and sharing reports and things with them too, and, you know, just letting them know what women need and their experiences when they come into the dealership.
I think that is so great, Sheronde. And also, you were talking about, it's also about maintenance. You give some tips on how to maintain your car.
We do talk a little bit about that. We have articles on there about how to, you know, things to look for. I mean, it's so enlightening with our clinic when you come in, because most women know very, very little about their cars. But statistically, women are the ones that take their cars into the service centers, even if they're, you know, married or whatever. And so it's just good to have a little bit of an idea of maybe what's under the hood and, you know, what may be going on. And what was really fascinating, one of the things that we really learned from the female mechanic that we had there was, you know, while we tend to look at that mechanic as the expert, that we actually are more of the experts on our car, because we're in that car every single day, driving that car. So when we hear a funny noise or something going on, we know best. And so we got a lot of great tips about how to maneuver that process when you go to the service centers, what kind of language you want to use, what language equals more dollars, what language will probably cost you less. So lots of great information.
Well, my goodness, that's fantastic. And I know I've been to your website once. I'm going to go back and check it out again, because that sounds like invaluable information. And it's really important, I think, to get empowered about the car buying process, along with everything else. You know, this is an exciting time for women. So it's just women are kind of stepping into their own. So, and speaking of that, in visiting your website, you say to women to breathe and just be the woman you are becoming. To breathe and just be the woman you are becoming. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, again, that just goes back to helping women, again, look for it and not get so stuck into, you know, what was and what they maybe used to do and used to be, and, you know, just helping them to really define who they are right now, where they're trying to go, what's the next steps, what's the next level, and not necessarily defining that based on, you know, who they were. Because we are changing and evolving, and we want to help women really have a workshop. It's called Fulfilling the Vision of Who You Are. And we talk about this part of being bold, balanced, and brilliance. And to me, part of what being bold is really understanding, you know, yourself and asking those questions. And a lot of times we really don't know ourselves as well as we think we do. And a lot of times we're doing things, and particularly women, we're maybe doing the things that we believe that people think we should be doing. And so it's important that we understand and align ourselves with our true values, and that we understand and know our own truths, and not others, and that we're not living somebody else's life, but that we're living our own, and we're living it on our own terms.
And that's so important. It's just, isn't it? It's just so important to, I think to me that kind of is, to me that's where authenticity comes from, and that's where success comes from, in my experience. And
being true to yourself. Being true to yourself.
So beautiful. And then that will in turn speak to your particular client base, and will fulfill whatever needs they have. So it's beautiful. And well, Sheronde, I have to say it's been lovely sipping tea and doing business and being on this radio show with you. I'm really grateful that you took the time out to be on with us today. And if someone wanted to contact you, what is the best way for them to do that?
They can either do that, you know, via the website and the email,
Okay.
Or they can always give us a call. We do have a toll-free number. That's 1-888-210-4539. Or they can visit the website, thebusinesspractitioner.com, and we have a contact page with email.
Oh, perfect. Well, thanks again, Sheronde. I really appreciate you being here. Is there any words of wisdom you want to leave with our listeners today? I know you love quotes. I'm a huge fan of quotes too. I always say people don't don't get me started because I can go on forever with them. But what's your favorite? What's like your favorite inspirational quote that you can think of?
You know what? I'm kind of like you. There's so many, and they're great because they're inspirational and they can be quirky and funny and all that good stuff. But I'm going to give you one from the book here, and it's a very, very simple one, and it kind of brings together everything that we just said. But it's enjoy life sip by sip, not gulp by gulp. And that's Minister of Leaves. I like that one. I think that's kind of just very simple and very on point. So
perfect. Love it. I've never heard that before. That's it's rare I can say that I have not heard a quote before, so that's fantastic. Sheronde, thanks again. I just really appreciate you being here, and I encourage everyone to go check out your websites and to check out your book, Sipping Tea and Doing Business. And thanks again, and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon, and thanks so much for being here.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, and I enjoy it very much.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.